Welcome back to Apex Mountain. I am your host, Tanner Knox, joined again by my good buddy, Jacob Lindgren. How are you?
Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm good, and I had a good week watching these episodes. So the first episode we're going to talk about is episode 4, The Long Black Train, where we find out John had 2 feet of his colon cancer removed. Jimmy gets saved by his brand. Fred goes to the train station. Beth takes Jenkins to a honky tonk where he gets his ass beat, and Casey gets arrested. What did you think about episode 4?
Well, everything I just heard, the first thing that comes to my mind is 2 feet of colon cancer. I don't know how you measure. I've never heard a measurement of cancer before, but that's a fuckload, I feel like.
I'm sure there was
2
cancer,
feet.
and they're like, let's just add a little more colon.
Like, that's not cool enough. There's a 10-gallon hat worth of cancer. Oh, yeah. I mean, I liked it. It was, man, it's a little weird for me because normally when I watch a show and that I'm into, I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to watch 2 episodes every night until I finish the whole show. Yeah. And I'm kind of forcing myself not to because I don't want to jump ahead to keep this dynamic. So, yeah, I watched 3 and 4 and it was midnight and I could have just kept going, but I stopped.
You said 3 and 4. You mean 4 and 5?
Or 4 and 5. I'm sorry. I did watch the right episodes.
I hope we're on the same page here. So one thing this is the first episode in the series where it's like I'm on board. I remember this specifically, and so I'm a huge country music fan, whether it's Texas or Red Dirt or Americana or whatever it may be. Starts out with Chris Stapleton, which is one of my all-time favorite musicians, and then it goes right into Ryan Bingham, the song Sunrise, and I think snapped you saying, hey, this is my song. And then it goes in, Whiskey Myers is the band at the honky tonk, and they're singing one of my favorite songs ever, Stone, by them, and then later they sing a song called Frogman, which is also just such a good song. All of those, the bands, and incredible. I listen to them all the time.
Right.
So this is one of the big reasons why I like Yellowstone, and you can really see it in this episode. I think the characters are also starting to come together in episodes 4 and 5, where like their backstories, you understand them. Like it's not just kind of off the wall. Yeah. I mean, what? I don't know who stood out to you in this episode.
I'll jump around a little bit, but I'll start with Casey. I love Casey as a person in the show, and I also think he's perfectly cast. Luke Grimes is amazing in this, and he wears so much on his face. And this is the first episode where we kind of get to see his quote unquote code, if you will, where it's like he's just going to tell the truth. You know, like when he's getting in trouble, he tells the truth at the station. He just has this personality where like I don't owe my dad anything, which we'll talk about later when he almost gets paid to basically break the horse. He's like, I'm not even going to take that money from you. I don't want us to be on the same plane at all, even for a minute. So he kind of understands his dad's bullshit in a way, but I think Casey's a lot of fun. The only thing I was a little annoyed with was the buried body situation. It's like very plot driven, and it's like he kills these people that he meets out of nowhere, buries them in this weird ritual, and then the next day they get dug up because of happenstance. It's just like, I don't know. It's a lot. He's a lot right now. We've talked about it last episode too. There's so much going on that happens to Casey at once that it's a little too much for me to believe in any organic way. Like it takes me out of the show a little bit and reminds me that I'm watching a show.
I agree. And I think the whole point of his troubles at the beginning is to get him back to his dad's ranch. But I think you could have been a little bit, like you said, a little bit more organic in how this happens. Like one happenstance, but like you said, there's all these things, all these murders and you know, just getting in trouble with the law that's ending up being like, you know, I think it's time to go back to dad's house kind of thing. It's like it's kind of weird. I definitely agree with you on that. Last episode we talked about Jimmy a little bit. What do you think about this episode with him and the brand and how that's you know, working, I guess?
Oh, I love Jimmy. I didn't make any notes on him. He's just, you know, I think we're almost as an audience going to become a cowboy with Jimmy. You know, I think that they kind of assume that that us as viewers aren't all cowboys, all aren't from, the West, and we get to see an entry level cowboy. We also get it's a great introduction for Rip, who is impossible not to like it, at least at this far into the show. They'll complicate him later, but right now it's like, how do you not like Rip? I think he's just really beneficial to the show, and it kind of shows the nuances. It's not just a bunch of cowboys who were already cowboys doing cowboy shit. That's kind of boring, but having someone who's like can barely sit on the horse, is going through the lumps, but is treated as a new family member. It benefits the show a lot more than it even benefits the character so far.
Yeah, that's one thing. This episode really explains what the brand means to the farm, to the ranch, and why he got branded. We still don't necessarily know, but we also understand that not everyone at the ranch is branded. So it's kind of a special thing. And obviously, so Fred didn't take too kindly. So Jimmy brings back the calf that was left behind. And, Fred didn't like that for some reason and goes and picks a fight with Jimmy. Well, they said, hey, do you want to take Fred to the train station because he's fired? And they said, well, he kind of knows a little, too much.
How about he's been here too long, essentially.
Or I'm sorry, they said, let's take him to the bus station. And they said, he knows too much. Let's take him to the train station.
Right.
Well, the train station's out on that cliff there.
Right.
And the long black train, dude, that part is awesome.
Yeah, that character's cool too. He's like the grandfather of the area, like the old boy that probably, I'm sure we'll find out more. Maybe not. I hope we know more about Lloyd, but he seems almost like the bridge from John to John's dad, And yeah. I think that'll, if we don't get to know Lloyd more, I think he's still important because he kind of shows the age of the farm. It is older than John, and he makes that clear by being there as kind of the pseudo leader.
Yeah, I love his demeanor. I love his look with the Fu Manchu. Just everything about Lloyd.
Yeah.
Just there's something, I just absolutely love that dude.
Seems like they couldn't afford Sam Elliott, so they were like, let's just get somebody that's as close to Sam Elliott as we can and just make a cowboy out of him.
But could you imagine Sam Elliott working for Kevin Costner? Like, Sam Elliott's got to be the farm, the ranch owner,
Yeah.
Maybe place him as just a ranch hand or something.
Also, I believe I saw somewhere that Lloyd is actually a real life cowboy, worked on farms. Like, they brought him in almost as a utility for the show to make sure that what they were doing was legitimate and not Hollywoodified, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess he served a dual purpose, not just to be cool and a discount Sam Elliott, but also to make sure that they're actually cowboys.
Yeah, and I really think so. Jimmy's got a grandpa, and his grandpa was the one that went to John and said, please help me, bring him in.
Yeah.
But I really think Lloyd is almost like a dad to him, or like he's really getting him on the path to becoming a cowboy on the farm and things like that.
Yeah. I also want to bring up, before we go too much further from it, when John was discussing with Rip what to do with, what's his name, Fred, the guy who gets killed?
Fred.
Okay. I mean, I knew that he wasn't going to last. So as soon as I met him, I was like, nope, not committing you to memory. But I think it's important that little scene that they had together talking about it, because not only do we get to find out about the train station and all that, which is obvious, but I think the more nuance of it is John trusts Rip to the point where he's like, hey, do whatever you think's best. If you want to, if you need to take him to the train station, do it. He has so far up to this point in the show not given that respect to any of his kids once, except for maybe Lee, which we don't get to meet really. Mm-hmm. We see him just long enough to think he's cool, and then he's gone. And he always pins the kids against each other. He's never really there for them at any emotional level, and he uses that to his advantage, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But I think it's really important to bring up that, like, early on, even as a viewer who doesn't know what's coming, it's clear that Rip is the son he wish he had, or at least he almost had in Lee. And for him to just show blatant trust on something as serious as killing someone, and for him not to reciprocate that trust to any of his kids, I think is really important to absorb as a viewer in this early portion of the show.
Yeah, he does that a little bit with Beth, where he tells her to take care of Jenkins, but he doesn't mean kill Jenkins. He literally meant, if you think you got to kill Fred,
Yeah.
And
didn't ask questions like, oh, what happened? And that was it. Like, he found out about it and he washed his hands of it in 4 sentences with Rip.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. It's getting a little deeper into the show where it's like, what the hell's going on at this place where you got to kill a guy for, a little fight? Like he was working for you an hour ago.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Speaking
I
of
agree.
Beth, so she takes Jenkins to this honky tonk,
Oh, yeah.
and it was so weird. Like she's just continuing to show that she's insane, but she's
Loose
also
cannon, absolutely.
but she also like is able to portray herself as almost the alpha in any situation. And
Yeah, but in kind of an artificial way. Like if she met somebody who really didn't give a shit about what she said, then everything, the facade falls apart. She finds insecure rich men who think they own every room they walk in, and she emasculates them, which is her one card. That is her defense mechanism, is to make the men around her feel like shit, which I'm sure has plenty of benefit growing up completely surrounded by cowboys. I'm sure that was a defense mechanism that she grew up needing.
yeah,
But so far as a viewer, 4 episodes in, she's still to me extremely overbearing. But now they're finally starting to show her unravel a little bit this episode, next episode, which is kind of helping with it. It's making it less soap opera-y, but I think it's still too raw of a wound for someone who's 40. It feels weird to me still.
Well, I will say it is a raw wound.
There is something more than what I know.
Yeah, and I'm like anticipating when they're gonna show it. I don't remember if it's even the first season or not.
Okay.
But
she's so much. She's always at 10, 24/7.
She is.
It's exhausting. You know what I mean?
I will say I recall in season 3 she really calms down. I don't recall.
God, I hope so.
Between season 3 and where we're at right now, I don't recall when that happens per se.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she takes Jenkins in there and tries to get him into fights. He gets his ass beat a couple times by a couple guys, and then
he really does, dude. He gets his fucking shit knocked around, dude. He is all over the place.
So he leaves, and then Rip literally walks up, and there's a seat open right next to Beth, and there's a guy on the other side of Beth, and he walks up to that guy and said, "You're in my seat."
And that guy's like, "No problem," and he just gets up and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not messing around with Rip."
They're pretty well known around that area.
And if you pay attention, Beth's got that kind of smirk where she's like that is who she wants. Somebody who lets her be herself, but also in some capacity is a man's man as well. Like she wants kind of both, and at least this far into the show, Rip's filled that void. So
one thing about Beth is her using her name as like I'm the shit because I'm a Dutton kind of thing.
Yep.
That stuff's a little annoying. Like, don't, if you're going to act like you're an alpha, don't say, well, my dad, though,
Yeah, I mean, she really does only have that. She really only does emasculate guys, and it's from the position of power that her dad has fostered for her.
Mm-hmm.
She even does it to Rip, and I don't know what episode it was, where they go and watch the coyotes eat that carcass. Elk. She does it even then, where she's like, I thought it'd be bigger or whatever. Or maybe it was the first episode when they were in her bedroom. She's like, I thought it'd be bigger just to him. Like it seems to be something that she can't help but do. It's like, I need to belittle you at least a little bit to make myself feel temporarily more comfortable.
And when she walks away, he's just like, she's back. Like what's new kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, this episode was kind of like almost like a transition piece to go deeper into each character. It finally shows Casey being arrested. He's with his family driving, gets pulled over, gets pulled out of the car and arrested on the spot. And that's kind of where we're left off. And I don't know. I mean, wrapping up episode 4, it kind of leaves you a little bit of a cliffhanger. Nothing crazy,
Yeah.
But we kind of want to know what's going to go on with Casey and if he's even going to be around much longer and things like that.
Have we met prison Brad Paisley yet?
Prison Brad Paisley.
Yeah, the guy that the newest member of La Familia. I don't know his name.
No, so they talk, so he says he wants to go pick somebody up from jail, and where they have no one else. He says that in this episode, so go find somebody. And then in the next episode we do that. So before we move on, do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about with this episode?
I mean, I could say it at any episode, and I'll probably say it 100 more times, but Kevin Costner is really a perfect cast for John, because John is pretty much unredeemable in most of the things that he does. But there's something about Kevin Costner and like he like wears his mistakes on his face in a way where it's like, oh yeah, I know he is a kind of a complete piece of shit, but man, he is still pretty cool. I still like him. And it's like there's no rational reason to like him at all, yet you're in on him. It's
that,
crazy.
Or he's like, yeah, I was a shithead for a dad, but maybe I'll be a good grandpa.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like John, on the surface, if it was a worse actor, I think John would suck as a person.
Yeah.
And he does suck as a character because that's how he's written. But Costner elevates him to where he's like in this gray area where he should not be at all.
Yeah. 100%. I couldn't agree more with that. Now, before we move on to the next episode, let's take a quick break. Hey, thanks for taking the time to watch this series here we got on YouTube. I wanted to let you know that we have a podcast called Apex Mountain, where we try to find the apex of an actor or actress's career. You can check out that podcast on any platform, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also help us out by heading on over to our Patreon. We only have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. It really would help us out. Otherwise, just keep watching, and thanks for stopping by. All right, welcome back.
Wow, that was quick.
Episode 5, Coming Home. Monica comes to the ranch to see John. Casey tells Rainwater what happened to the burned bodies. Jamie then comes to the rescue. Fucking Jamie. We meet Walker. God. I've never heard of cold white trash. What'd you call him?
Oh, I called him prison Brad Paisley.
All right, and then next, Beth fucks with Jenkins' wife. Beth about kills someone in the car with the gun. And Monica watches Walker get branded.
Yeah, that was weird. I think she kind of, I'm not even going to jump to her because that's the end of the episode. We'll get to it.
We'll get to that. So, I mean, kind of like last episode, what did you think about this episode? This was kind of another one of those deeper meaning episodes where you get to learn more about the whole episode as a whole. Yeah.
It's still environment building for sure. They're trying to give you an idea of what ranch you're on, you know what I mean? And wasn't any overarching takeaway other than like Beth is still a freaking loose cannon and Jamie's just a sniveling, like he's just such a jackass. And I don't have a reason not to like him other than like his overcombed hair and his bad attitude. Like I don't know why I should not like him, but the actor does such a good job of not being likable that I'm prepared for whatever terrible thing he's done in the past.
You know what I mean? Like a dark-haired Grinch.
Yes, he's so like just shitty and self-absorbed, but it almost makes sense because he doesn't get any of the attention from his dad. Like he is a lawyer because his dad needs him to be, and he's good at it. Like we saw him last episode.
He's really good at it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm sure more, but he does a great job in the first episode. He does a great job again with Casey. It took him all of 30 seconds to be like, "You guys have nothing. We're going." Which we didn't talk about last episode, but he switched the top of the guns back, so now he does have the original top again. So the plot, I'm sure, doesn't end there, but anyway, he does get Casey out in all of 10 seconds. He gets them on their back feet and he makes them look like jackasses. Like he's good at his job. And he's like, "Look, Dad, look what I did." And nothing, just looks over his head, like nothing. So yeah, I mean, all these people are super flawed because they have a bad leader in their dad.
I agree. And, they talk about, so at the point, I'm kind of skipping a little bit ahead, but at the point whenever they're trying to get Monica a job at the college, and John talks about how worrying about anybody else's family but yours is kind of a fault. He doesn't worry about his family at all. It seems like he only worries about his land that
John?
Yeah, that he has
100%. It's not about anybody other than himself. We'll see him unravel more as the show goes on, I'm sure. But
you think so?
I think the cancer that we've seen in the last episode where they just reference it, and I don't know how much it comes back up, but one thing I think that's interesting about it is maybe that sets him up as kind of why he does the things that he does, because he almost seems like even early on in the show, that he just disregards his own body when he jumps in the water, or he disregards his kids in order for power. It's like he's like got a death wish almost. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just like he wants one thing and it's power, and he's convinced himself that that's good for the family, even though he's never given a second of attention to the family in any level other than financial. You know what I mean? It's just a weird dynamic.
It is weird. It's like, I'm gonna pay you as long as you take care of the family. But when he says family, it's the ranch,
Yeah, which is in
it's,
turn him.
which is the money, which then,
Right.
yeah, it's him, but then he gets it. The kids get a cut, and it's kind of how the world
Yeah.
runs. But yeah, it's really weird how it's not a father. It's like it's a leader or like a dictator rather than a father,
It is just like, and we said this last episode, I may have brought it up, but I know that this is kind of advertised as the Mafia meets the West. It really is. I mean, when you went, like we talked about it with the Untouchables on our main podcast, mafia groups, they always say it's about family. They always drag people in with things that make them feel like they can't leave and that there's a brotherhood, like just like the branding. It's like you have to break somebody all the way down, build them back up how you want, and make them feel like they have no other option, which they do an excellent job in this show. But to go back to the mafia thing, they build this false pretense of family, like you're going out and killing people and you're selling drugs and you're doing this and that, but hey, we're all a family and you're doing it for us. But in reality, it's just for the person who runs it.
Yeah.
It's no different than this situation. You can tell yourself that, you're doing this for pride and history and it's a cowboy family, but it's not. Everything goes back into John's pocket.
Yeah, and on the first episode we talked about them going after the coroner or whatever. So we do know that they have a murder-esque ability in them. But now you're seeing them actually, take people off the farm.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, this is life or death. Like, this is family or death kind of thing. And it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. They give you these artificial like pretenses, like you can come in, hey, we'll be there for you if you want to come in, but you know the price. And they don't really say it. Like they don't say it to prison Brad Paisley. He's clearly over his head. But like you come into the family, you get branded, and now you're stuck. Like, and they make it clear. Yeah, I guess you could just drive in a direction and get away from them, but they make you feel like, even as an audience member, that there is no out now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we get one side of it, which is Jimmy, which is like, I do want to be here. I do want this for the whole experience. And then I think we are getting ready to meet, what is Brad Paisley's name in this?
Walker.
I can't keep calling him that. Walker.
His name's Ryan Bingham, and he's one of my favorite singers. Okay. So he's the one in the first episode he's the one I snapped you about, saying this is his song. This is
literally him?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were just covering it.
No,
okay.
It's
literally him. Okay.
So when they're in the bunkhouse, actually, that's his song. Like him singing. Yeah, he's so.
I
good.
feel like, and I could be totally wrong off base by this, but I feel like he's going to be in some cases the opposite of Jimmy, where it's like, what the fuck? What are we doing here? Kind of thing. He's going to be I'm not doing that. I don't want to do this. Like avenue. Whereas Jimmy's the whatever you say kind of guy. I think that they'll be nice counterparts, or at least it feels like that, just meeting him in this one episode.
Well, we'll have to see what happens.
Wow. Straight laced.
Oh, okay. Moving on to crazy ass Beth. So
God.
She's in there fucking with Jenkins' wife, talking about we should be friends, and she's talking about the thing on his face because he got his ass beat in the last episode at the honky tonk. And
yeah. Oh, she's like, yeah, he had a car accident, and she's like, yeah, man, those airbags really pack a punch.
Yeah, so she's crazy, and she's trying to get Jenkins. She's trying to she says it in there. She's trying to fuck his whole family up, his wife, his brothers, everything, which is a total alpha move. And he's not really budging much.
Yeah, because he's into it. I mean, it's pretty clear that he's into it.
Yeah, and he's I don't think he's necessarily scared of the Duttons yet. And
I don't know why you wouldn't be at this point.
No shit.
They basically own the entire town. Like what do people not get at this point already?
Yeah, exactly. And That I can't say much. Jenkins is
He seems like a real asshat. I can't wait to not like him more as time goes on.
dude. There's gonna be a point in this season where you're like, what the fuck? Like,
He seems like a real scumbag.
yeah, not him. I'm talking to him.
Oh
To
yeah.
him. You're gonna
I
be
mean,
like,
I'm sure. I'm
what?
sure. Beth is
Yeah.
not great.
It's not even Beth. Literally everybody but Beth. Anyway, moving on. So Beth is starting to unravel in the car. She's drunk.
Okay.
She's apparently on Adderall, like she said, and
Mhm.
she has this moment with Jamie where you're like, "What the fuck is so? What is going on? What is so crazy between her and Jamie?"
Other than
And
Jamie being a freaking asshat, he's such a little sniveling.
he
God, he
is,
sucks.
and there's kind of reasons for his too, but and according to this episode, she's saying you have to literally watch someone die to understand pain or death or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a double meaning. And one meaning is that she was there when her mom died, right?
Yeah.
There's another meaning that we don't understand yet.
Which is weird, which is the weird thing for me. And I'm glad that we've kind of jumped to this scene a little bit because I think that this might have the most fat to chew on. When they're in that truck and she shoots it and he kind of slams to a stop. First off, I don't know if my brain wasn't working. I didn't hear the gun go off. I heard him squeal to a stop. So I was like, seems like a slight overreaction to her aiming a gun at you. Like, I know you're not happy about that, but like, I feel
Did
like
you
if someone was
rewind?
aiming a gun at me and I slammed on my brakes, I would be worried that they would accidentally shoot me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, that was a weird reaction. But then after like thinking about it, I was like, okay, so she shot the gun. Yeah.
Yeah, she
The
shot it.
gun went off in the truck.
And that was right when she had it up to her chin. So you're like,
Right.
oh
Right.
my
Right.
God, she killed herself.
Right.
I think she just shot into the ceiling or something.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I assumed too. But at the time, I didn't notice that the gun was because there was no bullet. They never made like a hole. They never really made a moment of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I was temporarily thrown off.
Yeah. So it's nuts. Again, she's drunk. So like emotions are even higher kind of thing. He takes her back home. She goes in her room and just starts screaming the entire time. But that was I think after she stops screaming, she comes and looks at her dad with Tate reading the book.
Yeah.
That's an important realization for her that
It
we'll
was like a
understand
moment
later.
of clarity before she lost it.
I think it was after she lost it, wasn't it? Or was it not?
No, she goes to her room and on her way to the room, she looks through the door
You're right.
and then she goes to her closet and loses it.
So that makes more sense. So there's a reason. Everything that happened right there, there's a reason that, and then a later episode will explain more.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Is this fun or is this just torture that you can't talk about anything? You're just like kind of watching me watch a show.
See, and I don't want to give too much away. Like, hey, make sure you fucking watch this part right here. But it's like, if I can, because you're sitting here like, what is going on? But whenever the realization comes, you're gonna be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember because I forgot all about this moment until I just watched it.
Right.
But coming back and being like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I bring it up to you, then maybe when we get to that point, you'll be like, I remember that. Okay.
Hey, all right. Before we leave the truck scene, though, I wanted to ask you a question. So, does Jamie really is he just a psychopath? Like, does he not have a range of emotions, or is he just tired of her? Do you think it's Beth fatigue, or do you think he's really cool with her just shooting herself in the head? Because he was not given an inch before she was pointing a gun at him. And then when she was crying and losing it, he was spending more time looking at the gun than looking at her. And it wasn't until she kind of gave up on the I'm going to shoot somebody that he showed any kind of remorse that even then felt forced.
I think it's more of
just tired of it.
Tired of her.
I don't blame him. I'm getting tired of her too.
Based on the first couple episodes, it seems like there's a reason she's gone. Like every time she comes around, it sounds like this is how it's been probably for years.
Yes.
And yeah, I think he's just like, enough, like do whatever you gotta do, kind of thing.
Can you imagine being so desensitized to a gun being loaded and her aiming it at herself? Like, it's happened so many times that you can't even muster up like a reaction. Like, how many times has she done that?
That's insane. I mean, in being on that farm, how much death have they been around? To where it's like, mom died, fucking Lee died. You know, Grandpa. I don't know.
Countless farmhands. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's no
Yeah,
shit
I
too.
just
They'll
thought
talk about that later.
I just thought about the truck scene and I thought it was kind of weird. The dynamic, obviously there's a lot more to it, but I just wanted to bring that up and see what it is that you thought about. If you thought he just really was like, do it, I want you to do it, or if he was more so like, God, I'm so fucking tired of having this conversation.
Well, and in the first episode, I was talking about there's two sides of him. He's got an evil side, and then he's got like this, like, I'm the helping hand, like I'll do anything for you. I'm trying to do good. It's like the devil and the angel on your shoulders. Like he's got two different sides. It's really crazy.
His hair is probably just slicked too tight. It's cutting off circulation to his brain.
The tie's fucking choking him or something.
Also, this is a good moment when they're back at the house to show how little John fucking cares about his kids. Because you have a daughter.
Hell.
You have a daughter. If that was you in his shoes and she was losing her fucking mind, it doesn't matter if this has happened once or 1,000 times. You're going to go in there because you have to. You have to. Even if she throws shit at you and tells you to leave, you still have to try. He was just like, I'm going to bed. I need her like this. He literally says that. He's like, I need her like this. Yeah. Like, what? This shows you everything you need to know about John.
One thing that's I just thought about, and just based on the first 2 episodes we've done, John said, if you ever hit your daughter or your sister again, I'll put your head through a wall or some shit.
Yeah.
And then he hits her in the car.
Well, it's more of a palm shove into a window.
It's like a Heisman. She's just like,
it really was. She really did. He really did Heisman her. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh man.
And I don't know if that counts or not.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Don't know.
That would be funny at the beginning of this next episode. John just shoves him through a wall. Like, what did I tell you?
On this episode of Yellowstone, he just goes flying like Jazzy Jeff off Fresh Prince.
They're not even done with the intro. It's like just straight through a wall.
Okay, so I can't think of much else except, Monica seeing Walker get branded, right, and just kind of the realization of like, is this a fucking cult? Like, what is going on?
She's really not too far off.
Bro, could you imagine getting branded? Oh my God.
Yeah. Crystal Meth Brad Paisley took it like a champ. I mean, he sat there and didn't say a noise. I mean, I forgot his name again. It's never going to happen. Walker. He's Brad for the rest of the show. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And if you're her, see, like I'm 5 episodes in now and I'm still team her. Because what the hell is going on around her? Like, she's got family members committing suicide as sacrifice for her kids to have a better life. Her husband, Casey, has killed like 2 people a day on average since the show has started. And
she doesn't know about any of that.
He gets on his ranch and she's like, I don't get why you don't want to work for him. And then she goes outside and sees the dude get branded. Like, she has not had 1 minute of normalcy since we started this show.
Is he branded? Do you remember, Casey?
Casey's branded, yeah. We see it in the first episode, I think.
Okay.
I was actually going to ask you if that had any significance at all, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it. One thing I think is just absolutely hilarious, and I was looking at stuff on Reddit the other day, and I think I told you about that, but every time it says Tate says a bad word, and then John's like, run inside and grab a donut, grandson. And on this one, he's like, why don't you run in there and grab a cookie? And he's like, a cookie? He's like, yeah, it's the size of a plate. Jesus Christ.
It is funny how they like try to get the kid out of whatever kind of completely insane situation they're about to be in. Just like, hey, can you go, hey, throw rocks in this bucket while I go tell your dad I love him or whatever.
Oh, God.
I guess. Okay. What did you think about, I guess, my last little comment about Casey again? What did you think about the not taking money scene? Because I can see both sides of their argument where Casey's like, first off, your family, so I'm not going to work for you, period. But then I'm also not going to work for you, kind of, I think at least, because he doesn't want to be indebted to him. But then on John's side of things, John's like, I'm just paying you for doing something for me. Like, why are you such a pain in my butt that you won't even do me what you do, which is break horses, and just take my money and do the job and just live here. But Casey knows what that means. It's going to start with a horse, and then it's going to go somewhere else, and then the kid's going to want to stay. And if you crack the door open, it's going to fly wide open. You know what I mean?
So you're right with that part. Now, one thing about this show is they foreshadow so much. So right now, what you're talking about, they're having this fight, and it's like, why won't Casey just do this? Well, there's a meaning behind it, and it's why won't you let your son around Grandpa? Well, there's a meaning behind all this.
Yeah.
It takes a while to explain things, and it's cool on one side, but on the other side, like I remember watching this for the first time, and the first, 3/4 of the first season, I was like, I'm like very confused on what's going on. Yeah. Because there was so like Fred's there and then he's gone, and then there's like the other two hands that aren't branded. Like it's like season 3, and I was like, oh shit, these guys, where did they come from? But they were there the whole time.
Other people work here.
Yeah, it's like, wait, oh, these guys aren't even branded? What the hell? Like there's a lot of stuff, man.
It's kind of on them. If you work on a farm where you get like weird bunks to live at, you get paid $400 a week to do the manual labor that they do. And you see half of the people you work with have brands on their chest. Dude, what are you doing there? Go somewhere else. I know that town's big enough to have a Walmart. Work at a fucking Walmart. Get out of Yellowstone. Like that place screams you're going to be killed. Like it screams it.
But I think they give you $400 a week, but what are you paying for? You got your food paid for. You've got everything covered.
Yeah, but most people who want a job want to leave the job. Like you have to be a very specific kind of person to be like, I'm basically going to commit myself to this job, live the lifestyle, not have a family of any kind. And that's fine for some people. I get that. But I think there's a whole nother layer where it's like, don't make eye contact with the people with brands. I'm like, wait, there's people with brands here? Like, what? Why? And then they're not little ones. They're not little ones like like idiots that are 19 and did it in high school or something. Not that. We're talking about like 6-inch by 6-inch Ys for the farm on their chest. No, that's like you're gonna get killed 101 right there.
I mean, Lloyd did it, and look at him.
That's true. There is one guy left, and his job is primarily just to kill people, apparently.
No, that's a additional duty.
That's an added layer whenever you have tenure. If you're the oldest guy here, you get the privilege of killing people on a mountainside. And I was going to ask, since I've just randomly brought that up as well, it seems wildly irresponsible. I totally get shoot the guy in the middle of nowhere, so he falls down the side of this canyon essentially, and animals will eat the body, whatever. They'll just be bones scattered. I get that. It's still not a good enough reason for me. I'd be too nervous to do that for pretty obvious reasons, like, I don't know, teeth, but whatever. The one thing that really gets me is when he kills him, he throws his hat, and I'm like, okay, I get that. He takes all of his shit and throws the shit out. And I'm like, why? There isn't like a vulture that's going to eat a duffel bag. Like, you're just leaving evidence places.
So that's what's funny is they're going to explain that. And it's going to be literally 30 seconds, but they're going to explain it at one point, and you're going to probably laugh out loud.
Oh my God. I swear to God, if that camera pans down and it's like a tectonic plate with lava at the bottom, I'm done with this show.
No, it makes sense to a degree. Like for a show, it makes sense why they do it right at that point and everything else. And you notice that they went into a different state.
Yeah, it's the border. Right. Yeah.
There's a reason, and it's actually a really good reason.
Can't you just keep the rolled up sleeping bag though? Like it's just like pointless shit to throw out to leave potential evidence to me. Yeah. It's like, I get the body. I don't get any of the other shit.
See, and they're not going to care about evidence. It's weird. It's really cool.
Kill everybody all the time.
They just, anytime somebody finds the shit, they just kill them too. They take them to the top of the cliff and welcome.
Lloyd's job is just to sit in a tree stand and kill people who walk up to the bodies. It's just like a mound 7 feet tall of bodies.
Wait, is that a dead body?
Lloyd's like chewing on a piece of hay and just spitting tobacco and killing people in a tree stand.
And making old man quotes, just like, Jimmy, you know when you know.
He's like, well, maybe you don't sell. I'm like, oh God, what are we talking about? This is some old people shit.
Do you have Alzheimer's? What the fuck? So when Walker leaves the prison, they said, like, where have you worked before? And he said 4 6s. 4 6s. A is a gigantic farm, like cow assembly thing in Texas.
Okay. In
Not
real
only
life
that,
or like TV show life?
I think in real life. But not only that, there's right after the Super Bowl, there's a spinoff that they said is coming out that Jimmy and Walker are going to be the leads in, and it's called 4 6s. So I'm excited to see what that's.
So we keep. Well, thank you for letting me know that we get to keep Brad Paisley around for the entirety of this TV show.
Oh, I didn't say that.
I was worried about. Oh, don't tell me that.
I didn't say that either.
We got to keep crystal meth Brad Paisley in this bad boy. Also,
if I said he already worked there, then maybe it was before. I don't know.
He got in trouble for manslaughter for punching a guy between the eyes and him dying, which, like, yeah, that's possible. You got to watch what you do in a bar. But that guy's like 145 soaking wet. That guy had a problem with his head before he even walked into that bar. He is not punching anything hard enough.
That guy was 92% dead when he walked in.
That guy was certifiably dead. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, shit. Cool. Well, thank you for stopping by and listening to us bullshit for a little bit. Jacob, thank you for doing this with me. This is fun, man.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem, man. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more, we had an episode last week, first of all, but you can like, comment, subscribe on here, hit the little notification bell, and next time we post something on here, you'll be one of the first to know. So if you like Yellowstone, if you like what we're doing, you can check us out on here, Patreon, Instagram, the likes.
The main podcast.
Pretty much. You got anything else, bud?
No, that's it. Thanks for listening or watching. Cool. I'm new to YouTube, so.
All right. See you guys.
All right. See you. Bye.